Let me tell you something. You are spending more energy trying to be understood than building the life that actually matters to you. You're not exhausted because your dreams are too big. You're exhausted because you keep trying to explain them to people who were never meant to understand. Every time you tell someone your next move, your next goal, your next big plan, you give them the chance to shrink it. Not with violence, but with doubt, with silence, with a look, a shrug, a well-placed "are you sure?" You want to be seen. That's human. But let me be brutally honest with you. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need applause to evolve. And you definitely don't need to narrate your transformation to the world while you're still in the middle of it. That's the biggest trap. You think you're sharing for inspiration, but in reality, you're bleeding energy. Every word you speak about your vision becomes an opening for someone else's fear to walk in. You are not here to impress. You are here to progress. And progress is quiet, uncomfortable, invisible, until it isn't. So hear me now. If you really want to change your life, start by closing your mouth and opening your focus. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. And if you use it right, it will transform everything. You've been told that speaking your goals out loud makes them real. That if you declare your vision, the universe will somehow bend to meet it. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Talking about your dreams too early doesn't strengthen them. It weakens them. Because the moment you share what's sacred, it becomes exposed. Not just to encouragement, but to doubt, to judgment, to distraction. You start off with fire in your heart, but then someone says, "That sounds risky," or "That's hard to do." And they don't even mean harm, they're just speaking from their fear. But suddenly, you start to question yourself. You hesitate, and what was once a burning desire turns into a flicker that you're trying to protect from the wind. There's science behind this. When you talk about your plans, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical it gives you after you achieve something. It rewards you just for saying the words. But here's the problem. That false sense of progress kills your urgency. You feel like you've moved when all you've done is talk. It's the illusion of forward motion. Like walking on a treadmill and thinking you're getting closer to the mountaintop. And what's worse, the more people you tell, the more opinions you invite. The more noise you have to sift through just to hear your own intuition. Eventually, you're not building for yourself anymore. You're building for applause. You're building to prove something, to show them it's possible, to say, "I told you so." But here's the danger in that. The moment their applause stops, so will your momentum. Because you weren't climbing the mountain for you. You were climbing it to be seen. And that's not a strong enough reason to carry you through the storms. If you're always looking sideways, checking who's watching, you'll forget to look up. You'll forget why you started. And worse, you'll stop altogether. There is a cost to overexposure. And the currency is your focus, is your discipline, is your peace. So if you truly believe in what you're building, protect it like a flame in the wind. Tend to it quietly, guard it fiercely, and let it grow in silence until the day it's strong enough to speak for itself. You've felt it, haven't you? That tension in your chest when someone you care about looks at your dreams like they're foolish. That hesitation in your voice when you try to explain your goals to people who don't even ask about them. That moment when their silence speaks louder than their support. You've been there. You lit up talking about your idea, your vision, your plan. and they looked at you with polite eyes, but not with belief. And afterward, you walked away wondering if maybe you're reaching too far. Maybe they're right. Maybe you should slow down. It's subtle. It creeps in quietly. You start adjusting yourself to fit their comfort zone. You shrink your ambition. You edit your excitement. You trade boldness for belonging. You begin to measure your worth by how accepted your ideas are. You catch yourself saying things like, well, maybe I'm not ready yet. Maybe I was dreaming too big. Maybe this just isn't the right time. And deep down, something in you starts to go silent, not because you've lost the dream, but because it no longer feels safe to speak it. You weren't wrong to want more. You just shared it too soon. You gave your dream to people who couldn't hold it. Not because they're bad, but because it wasn't theirs to carry. They didn't see what you saw. They didn't feel what you felt. They weren't meant to. So now you find yourself hesitating, not because you're lazy, but because you're tired. Tired of defending yourself. Tired of explaining what was never meant to be understood. Tired of trying to get approval for a life that doesn't belong to them. But here's the thing. Your life isn't a community vote. Your purpose isn't a group project, and your transformation doesn't need commentary. You've wasted enough time wondering why they don't cheer for you. It's time to accept that not everyone's silence is an insult. Sometimes it's just clarity. Sometimes it's life telling you, keep going, just do it quietly this time. There's a power most people overlook because it doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It's the kind of power that builds in silence, moves in the dark, and shows up when no one expects it. It's the power of staying quiet while you grow, of building in the shadows without asking for permission, of working behind the scenes while everyone else is talking. See, most people confuse noise with progress. They think the louder they are, the more real it becomes. But true growth, true transformation, it happens quietly, privately, internally. Think about it. When a seed is planted, it doesn't make a sound when it breaks through the soil. When muscles grow, you don't hear them stretch and tear and rebuild. When the sun rises, it doesn't need applause. It just shows up. And so do the people who are really becoming something. You don't need to post your progress. You don't need to tell everyone your next move. You don't need to defend your decisions to those who don't understand the direction of your calling. In fact, the more sacred your journey, the less explaining it requires. There's wisdom in keeping what's not yet ready away from public eyes. Not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting. You're not weak for keeping quiet. You're wise, strategic. You're choosing strength over spectacle. Because every time you speak too soon, you risk inviting energy that wasn't meant to walk with you. People who love you can still limit you. People who cheer for you can still confuse your pace. When you move in silence, you give yourself space to breathe, to listen, to adjust, to align with your deeper reasons. You get to build without defending, heal without performing, change without interruption. And one day, when the time is right, you'll walk into the world not with explanation, but with evidence. Not with promises, but with proof. Let your success be your statement. Let your peace be your reply. Let your growth be the loudest thing about you, not your words. But here's a question no one asks you out loud. Can you be strong enough to say nothing? Can you hold your vision so close to your chest that not even your closest friends can see it yet? Can you resist the urge to impress and choose instead to build? Because silence isn't easy. It's not passive. It's not hiding. It's a discipline. It takes strength to sit with your progress when no one's clapping, to wake up early, do the work, stay consistent without a single soul watching. It takes courage to keep going when there's no proof yet, no results to show, no praise to feed your fire. You're not just fighting laziness, but fighting ego, the part of you that wants to be seen before you're ready, that wants to be celebrated before the work is done, that wants to be admired for the idea instead of the execution. And that's the trap. You start living for optics instead of outcomes. You dress your potential in announcements. You confuse reaction with reality. And before you know it, you've exhausted yourself, putting on a show instead of building a life. But here's the truth. The dream that requires applause to survive will never withstand the silence of real growth. Because the road to becoming is quiet. The nights are long. The doubts are loud. And if you're not grounded in why you started, you'll start listening to voices that were never meant to guide you. So let me ask you again. Can you stay silent? Can you carry something sacred through a season of being misunderstood? Can you work like no one's watching because no one is? Most won't. Most will talk, post, announce, overshare, not because they're bad, but because they're afraid. Afraid of being invisible, afraid of seeming behind, afraid of not being enough unless someone else confirms it. But not you. Not anymore. You've outgrown that. And now your challenge isn't to be louder. It's to be deeper, truer, quieter, but more certain than you've ever been. Because real transformation doesn't need to be broadcast. It just needs to be lived. Here's what you do instead. You stop announcing. You stop explaining. You stop inviting opinions into a journey they were never meant to shape. And instead, you focus. You execute. You protect your energy like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. Every day you wake up with a limited amount of mental, emotional, and spiritual energy. And what you spend it on determines everything. So spend it wisely, not on proving, not on defending, not on reacting. Spend it on your habits, in your craft, on showing up, especially when no one else does. If you want to change your life, start by simplifying your focus. Ask yourself, what actually moves me forward? Then build your life around that. Set boundaries like your future depends on them, because it does. Say no to people who drain you. Say no to conversations that spiral into doubt. Say no to justifying why you're choosing yourself. Instead, build rhythms. Turn your growth into a routine, not a drama. Start small, a 30-minute window of undistracted work. 5 focused breaths before you check your phone. 10 minutes a day to revisit your why in silence. Because progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet walk instead of a scroll. Sometimes it's deleting the app. Sometimes it's not responding to the message that would have thrown your whole day off. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Clear on who gets access to your mind. Clear on what deserves your attention. Clear on how you move when no one's watching. You build the life you want by protecting the moments that feel too small to matter. Because that's where the real work happens. Not in the big announcements, not in the viral quotes, but in the quiet decisions you repeat when no one sees you. That's where transformation lives. And the people who get the farthest, they're not the ones who make the most noise. They're the ones who move with quiet intensity, day after day, choice after choice, until one day the results speak so loud they don't have to. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need another quote, another post, another voice telling you what's possible. You already know what's possible. What you need now is quiet, stillness, conviction, and the courage to walk your path without applause. You've done the talking. You've done the waiting. You've done the hoping that someone out there would say, yes, go, you've got this. But you don't need that anymore, because now you know you don't need anyone to believe in you as long as you do. You don't need a crowd to witness your process, because the result will be loud enough. You are not here to prove. You are here to live, to create, to rise, and sometimes to do it in silence, because silence is sacred. It's focused. It's where the noise of the world stops and the voice inside you gets loud again. And when that voice speaks, you listen, you move, you execute, you grow, and one day you'll look back, not to boast, not to say I told you so, but to quietly smile, because you'll know you didn't need them to see it coming. You just needed to become it. So from now on, let your discipline speak louder than your doubt. Let your consistency be your response to their silence. Let your results do all the talking. And as you rise, rise quietly, but rise completely.